400 just outside of Las Vegas. And when Angela says buggy, we're not talking about your average dune buggies. We take a look at Brian Canine. These are Class 1 buggies making in excess of 700 to 800 horsepower. A lot of wheel travel, over 20 inches of wheel travel. As you can watch that one go to work there. These guys can travel over washes over 100 miles per hour.
Yeah, you're taking a look at Rick Rollins' car. Now listen, car, buggy, whatever you want to call them, listen to the amount of power on these things. Small block Chevrolets in most cases. You can have a Dodge, you can have a Ford, V8, whatever. But basically, for all intents and purposes, single carbureted, gasoline-powered machines, and as Ken said, as much as 800 horsepower on board.
You can see the guy struggling right there with the glare of the sun, his hand up there, trying to create a makeshift visor, if you will, as we watch a number of our competitors run out through here. The key, of course, is to take a look at that. You can see a spare on the back. These things weighing around 6,000 pounds or so, but they carry a lot of equipment with them in case they break down out in the desert. Another thing they really have to watch, it's all about shock management. As these things are going up and down, they create a lot of heat inside of those shocks, and of course that oil will break down if you get them too hot.
Yeah, that's one thing. And the weak link, as you well know, Ken, is the tires. You know, it's probably the most common thing that goes bad on any of these Mint 400 machines here in this General Tire Mint 400. The tires are the biggest thing. The shocks, I'd say, would be secondary. But the two things you can change out on the track and not lose a lot of time are the shocks or the tires. However, if you have motor problems, pretty well out of the event.
Danny Anderson out there just shredding it, man, making it happen. As we take a look at Corey. Corey in a very tough section of this course.
That indeed it is, Ken. You watch that truck, car, whatever you want to call it, buggy, that thing has got all kinds of bouncing going on. Not only is it abusive to the car, or buggy most will call, but that body takes a lot of the same abuse as well. It's tough on the drivers and co-drivers here.
And of course the conditions as well, with all the dust, the dirt that these guys are inhaling. You can see the co-driver over there. The co-driver basically a navigator. Of course the driver knows where he's going, but he's able to watch all the waypoints. They come out here, they pre-run, and they set waypoints on the GPS to find out where the holes are and the big washouts.
I'm here in the Cayos Racing Pits with Kevin Hanna. We're speaking about the Class 1 Unlimited Buggy, and your driver, John Shu, has gone from 13th to 2nd place. Now, you had a bit of a disadvantage because the buggy's wider, it's also a single-seater, and you had some problems at the beginning of the week. What did you personally do, along with the pit, to get the car ready?
The motor blew. You know, during this week, they had to pretty much take the motor out, tear the whole car apart, rebuild the motor. You know, they put a new motor in, got it running Wednesday night, about 2 in the morning. You know, loaded the car on the trailer Thursday, you know, took it to Barstow, did a little testing, drove out here the next day. The driver came out here with not knowing the course at all and just drove it.
It looks like you guys are doing a good job, and we know we've got about 2 minutes to go and a lap and a half, so I think he's going to be pulling in any second.
Yeah, I hope so. That means we'll be cutting more time off.
And a lap and a half is a little more than that sounds. Keep in mind, 1 lap out here is 100 miles. They make 4 laps, consequently the Mint 400.
And as a result, you know, Ken, those laps average about 2 hours apiece. It's a tough way to go.
The Edge coverage from the General Tire Mint 400 just outside of Las Vegas. This is the Class 1 buggies. TJ Flores is a defending champion. TJ is leading the pack here with 1 lap left to go. And Chuck's out there trying to track it back down. A number of competitors out here making a run at it here today. And Steve Raskin in 2nd place.
And, you know, we saw earlier on in the show where we saw both the driver and the co-driver talk about all the elements that is the Mint 400. That sunlight is part of the reason you need that co-driver. But we actually saw earlier, Ken, where the driver and co-driver were having to shade their actual sun visors, the visors on their helmets, and they were slowing the vehicle down because they couldn't see anything, man.
You can see hand signals there of that co-driver. Richard Boyle out here. Once again, all these class buggies, extremely expensive machines, purpose-built for the desert. Plenty of room to carry spares. Look at that, man. I guarantee you that is a 90 to 110 mile an hour charge across the desert. If you saw how rough that terrain is, like that right there, it will take the best out of everything.
Man, your lower back, all your lower extremities, well, really every part of your body, because you got to have your hands on the steering wheel. They're connected all the nerves in your arms. I mean, when you get done, These guys are physically fit. If you're not, this is the wrong race to be in here.
Let's listen. And those guys just about to pull back into the pits. And they'll check out these machines. After every lap, they pull in. Obviously, they need to refuel, and they set up fuel stops here in the middle of the desert. But they go around these buggies and cars and trucks as quickly as possible to get them back out there.
4 different sessions, 4 different complete laps, 100 miles a lap. The fastest cars, the fastest buggies can do it in just a little over 2 hours. Some of the slower units will finish in 13, 14 hours overall.
A good look at TJ Flores there, your leader. First lap, 2 hours, 17 minutes. 2 hours, 18 minutes for the second lap. Then he got after it pretty hard in 2 hours and 5 minutes.
And that is quick for 100 miles. You know, it'd be different if you were driving on straight gravel roads or if you were on pavement. But I mean, this is the toughest terrain in the world, bar none. And I mean, from hills to, as you said, the valleys. What do you call the riverbeds?
Those big washouts, yeah.
Washouts, man.
And you can see that loop section there as well, just really working the shocks. I mean, look at those things. Really getting a workout right there. Brian Cuneen making some dust, baby.
And the dust is about to be wrapped up for our champion, Ken.
TJ Flores pulls it through the pits back to the start-finish line, and he is your 2-time General Tire Mint 400 champ.
An LVDC Motorsports team. Racking up first place, Steve Raskin and Rick Romans, your top 3 overall.
Congratulations, TJ. Back-to-back wins on the Mint 400. What's going through your mind right now?
I don't know. I'm pretty speechless. Yesterday we hurt our motor, so we spent all night changing it over until about 1 in the morning, and then didn't get to drive it, nothing. So, I mean, had 2 hours sleep and come here to go race.
That's tough terrain, and it's a long course on 2 hours of sleep. How do you cope behind the wheel for that many hours?
Pace yourself. Have good equipment under you. So if you want to go hard, it's there.
Lucas Oil on the edge, General Tire Mint 400, brought to you by Bully Dog. Yeah, a great look at the Golden Nugget. What a spectacular casino. You have an opportunity to stay there. You'll have a great time. Here you go. After 2 laps, you can see Andy McMillan over Cameron Steele now by 9 minutes, because in lap 2, they put another 8 minutes on him. So a nice momentum run there for the McMillan team, but Cameron Steele coming on. Don't count these guys out. All it takes is just a little issue for the other team, and you caught right up. What blows my mind is these guys literally plan on changing tires in a minute and a half. That means the drivers have to unsuit. They have to get that spare off, get the old tire off, the new one on. All that done in a minute and a half. That is their goal if you're going to be competitive out here in the desert.
Well, I don't know about you, Ken, but it would be tough enough for me to drive this truck in 4 hours. And then if someone asked me to change a tire in a minute and a half, I'm not so sure I'd have the energy to pull that big wheel and tire out of the back of it to get it started.
Once again, a great onboard shot there, courtesy of General Tire this time at the suspension working as we watch Bill McBeath sail across this very rugged terrain.
You know, we talked a little bit earlier, Ken, about how these guys almost hydroplane when they get on a good roll before they get into the tough sections, like Rick Johnson is right there. Anytime they get out where it's remotely flat and you don't see a lot of shock action, like you do right here.
Right here, I mean, that's a great example. He's just kind of dancing over the tops of the jumps. Cameron Steele just standing on the throttle right there. If you can build enough speed, you can kind of dance over the top of the jumps and not go all the way in, up, and out. Right now, dealing with some dusty conditions. The good news here is it's a little breezy, and if it's breezy, it'll blow the dust out of the way so the guy behind doesn't have to deal with them. By the way, how do you make a pass out here? You roll up on the back bumper, you nerf them one time, you let them know I'm here. The second time, you move them.
Yeah, and if they don't really heed the device the first time by, it may be quite troublesome. Once again, as you watch these trucks, watch the bodies, and then you'll know exactly what the suspensions are doing.
Good look at the drivers there as Cameron Steele pulls into his pit.
And watch how many crew members get after this truck, Ken.
Go down! Did you get him his ball? He's good? No! We're doing pretty good. We're still in second place on the course right now. Cameron's feeling pretty good. Tires are holding up well. Took on another 50 gallons of fuel, so truck looks good. Cameron's about 7 minutes behind McMillan right now. So we're doing good. We're in good position.
With 200 miles yet to go, they have plenty of time to make up that distance.
Here again, we talk about that dancing on top of the dirt here, and even with the great big bumps, again, another opportunity here to watch the bodies, how little true travel there's in the bodies, and then the wheels themselves with the shocks up and down quite a good bit.
Bill McBeath again, and obviously before that was Andy McMillan. Andy McMillan, his father, his grandfather, I mean, legendary names when it comes to desert competition, have won the biggest events out there in history. Once again, we'll go on board here, taking a look at the suspension. That is an upper and lower control arm, obviously the lower part of the shock. And here is Andy McMillan again getting it done. The best that money can buy, I promise you, is inside of that truck right there. We are talking about million-dollar programs out here. The attrition will suck up the best. You're watching the General Tire Mint 400. We are finished with lap 3 as we show you the times. Cameron Steele chopped off 8 minutes of the 9-minute deficit. You can see right there he's only 50 seconds behind, is about to pit again, where he'll have an opportunity, if they can pull off a quick one, to actually get out ahead of Andy McMillan. Here we go.
Go that way. Got it, buddy. Easy. Right. We turned him that quick. We got him in and out. We got 2 tires changed. We got the brakes bled, fueled, everything turned around, and we got him out ahead of Andy McMillan. So we're doing good. We're feeling good. So hopefully we can make some time on him. And, you know, he's still sitting there. So hopefully we're going to get some good time on him, stretch him out, and we'll be good.
By the way, Keith Fraser is bleeding the brakes. What we've just heard over the radio is that Cameron Steele actually drove part of this course a little bit earlier on with no brakes because they had run over a rock, damaged brake lines, and they had lost some brakes on that machine. But obviously, they're back functioning now.
They're about race mile 46, and we've got Andy about 10 seconds behind Cameron, which means he's ahead of him about 20 seconds on corrected time. So we're really coming down to the wire here. It's going to be a real close one.
Can you just imagine, Ken, traveling 6 hours, over 6 hours on this rough terrain and being separated by 20 seconds?
Another great look there. That truck looking awesome, man. Great colors, obviously, to be out here in this dusty, dirty environment and still look that great after 300-plus miles in the desert. And problems are, I believe that's Cameron Steele, who is pulled over possibly with a flat tire.
Oh, man.
It is shredded, so those guys now are going to be at a huge deficit again, but you never know what's going to happen to Andy McMillan. He could also have troubles. This thing is not over yet.
Cameron's got to fix his flat, get back on the road, and get back in front of us and beat us here to the finish line by about a minute. So we're in a good spot. Andy's a smart kid. He'll keep it on the dance floor and, you know, just get it here to the finish line.
Wow, McMillan doing a great job there. That is a tough break for Cameron, who had knocked it down from 9 to 6, and then under a minute on that very last stop, and then pulled out with the lead after the stop. Tough break.
Boy, just sailing out there now, trying to make up for lost time. Cameron Steele back on the course.
We've got a flat tire right around mile 46. Looks like they got out and changed it. They're back moving again, and we're doing good. So we're sitting in a solid second.
Kind of like the final laps of any circle track race or road course event anywhere, kid. That pedal is to the metal, baby.
And we heard the distance there. Keep in mind, he was only 50 seconds behind, now about 4 minutes behind, so they got that tire changed in about 3 minutes. Very impressive. By Lucas Oil Products, made in America, sold to the world. General Tire, unleash the fury. And by Bully Dog, #1 in performance.
Cameron Steele just suffered a devastating flat tire, and the disappointment was clearly evident. One thing is true about off-road desert racing. It's always unpredictable, and anything can happen.
Absolutely correct there. We'll find out what's going to happen right now. That's the man that's in first, Andy McMillan, and his standout team leading these guys around here. But as we saw them take off for the final lap, they were literally right there within seconds of each other, and Cameron Steele had a flat tire. They pulled over, got in the hunt. We don't want to forget Rick Johnson, who's also right there as well.
We're having some problems with the air filter right now. Our air filter's getting a little bit clogged. If it gets any worse, we're going to have to stop them and change an air filter, which is, we can do it in about a minute, but I don't know if we have that much time on Cameron.
Well, needless to say, if that thing gets plugged up, it will get plugged up solid to the point that the engine won't get the much-needed air that it needs to provide horsepower. Look at how difficult the terrain is right there, man. It is brutal out there on the final lap.
About 45 miles left in the race, and I think we're about 4.5 miles behind him. I think we got a good chance to catch him. So it looks good. Anything can happen. So, you know, it's the last bit.
That's the last bit, and I tell you what, Ken, 45 miles can seem like an eternity when you got to make up 4 minutes.
We don't want to forget Rick Johnson, too. He's only 2 minutes behind Cameron Steele. So there's 3 players in here without a doubt.
They're around race mile 80. Right here is race mile 80. So they got, if they're right around race mile 80, they got a little bit more slow stuff, but once they get past this check, it's pretty wide open.
Now that last stretch is pretty much flat out. It's a lot smoother than what you're seeing right there. And keep in mind, that is a 7,000-pound truck bouncing the front end off the ground.
7,000-pound truck, and baby, we are coming down to the wire. McMillan and Steele.
Steele out there getting it done, standing on the throttle hard. Something's going to happen to McMillan for Steele to have a shot at winning this deal. Here comes Andy McMillan through the pits right now, or actually about to enter the pits, and this course actually winds through the pit area before he can get to the finish line. But he has just a little bit to go here. And you mentioned physical attrition as we watch Cameron again. Cameron Steele in his 40s, but rides literally thousands and thousands of miles a year down in the Mexico area on his dirt bike to keep himself in excellent shape, as are most of these drivers. And that is it. Andy McMillan will pull off the win here. Congratulations to his team. An excellent job.
Man, some 8.5 hours. 8 hours, 27 minutes, and you're champ.
That's what I'm talking about, baby.
It is a big team effort. Here comes Cameron Steele across the stripe as well. Congratulations to them. They will miss it by just a few minutes here, but a fairly solid effort. Rick Johnson and the General Tire back machine finishes up in 3rd place.
Congratulations. This race goes way back for you. You were just a baby when your family first won it, and now you get to win it yourself. How's it feel, man?
You know, it's just a great accomplishment. We had far from a perfect day, but our team just persevered, and we have great guys working on our team. It was definitely a nerve-wracking last lap, and it just feels great to be on top.
Cameron Steele to his machine in a 2nd place spot, Ken.
He gets a kiss from his wife, Heidi, former champion and driver of the year from a year ago.
You know, honestly, I don't have a lot of complaints. We've raced 4 big races this year. We've finished 2nd, 1st, and 2nd. You know, it's a team effort, and you never know what's going to happen. That's the best thing about off-road racing. It's kind of a crapshoot, but we're in Vegas, right? So let's roll the dice. I was hoping for Yahtzee, and I just crapped out.